Today, I will provide a summary of an American horror thriller film titled Fresh. A main character is a 23-year-old woman named Noah who is desperate to find a boyfriend. She tries online dating and goes on dates with several men, but they all end in disappointment. During one date, she meets a man named Chadwick who turns out to be rude and only talks about himself and his money. He even expects Noah to pay for their dinner. Noah gets increasingly annoyed and decides to leave, but Chadwick insults her before she goes. Noah, who is not used to such disappointment, doesn't say anything and just leaves. Later, she tells her best friend Molly about the incident at the gym. Noah believes she will be single forever, but Molly assures her that God has someone special for her. Noah jokes that it means God is keeping a bunch of guys chained up somewhere. That night, Noah goes to a nearby supermarket and runs into a man named Steve. They bond over their love for cotton candy grapes, and Noah is attracted to his charm. Before they part ways, Steve asks for her number, and Noah, being desperate, gives it to him without hesitation. The next day, she confides in her best friend Molly about Steve. Molly agrees that he's a good catch, but they both find it amusing that he hasn't texted her yet. Molly jokes that maybe he's secretly married. As Noah heads home, she finally receives a call from Steve. Without wasting any time, he asks her out on a date. Noah is taken aback by the sudden invitation, but her desperation pushes her to agree without much thought. She's heard rumors about Steve's impressive physique, just like Pam and Tommy. During their date, Steve and Noah open up about their backgrounds. He reveals that he's a surgeon from Texas who recently moved to town. In turn, Noah shares that she just graduated from college and is currently job hunting. They bond over the fact that they both don't have parents and are living independently. Steve mentions that he's so dedicated to his work that he doesn't have time for social media. After their date, Noah invites him over to her apartment. Things quickly heat up between them, and they end up sharing a passionate and romantic time together. The next morning, Noah wakes up feeling refreshed and happier than she has been in a long while. She secretly snaps a picture of a sleeping Steve and then phones her best friend, Molly, to share the exciting details of her amazing night. Molly is happy for her but finds it odd that Steve isn't active on the internet. During their conversation, Noah mentions that Molly's ex-boyfriend, Paul, was working as a bartender at the restaurant the previous night. It is revealed that Molly recently came out as a lesbian and ended her relationship with Paul. The next day, Noah meets up with her new boyfriend again, and they enjoy some takeout while discussing their lives. Noah reveals that Molly is her best friend who knows everything about her. After finishing their meal, Steve suggests they dance. Although hesitant at first, Noah ends up having a great time. Eventually, they get tired and sit down. Out of nowhere, Steve asks Noah if she would like to go on a weekend trip with him. She inquires about the destination, but he keeps it a secret, wanting to add an element of surprise. Despite the uncertainty, Noah agrees because she has developed strong feelings for him. After Steve leaves, Noah calls her best friend and excitedly tells her about the upcoming trip. Molly expresses some concern as Noah is going away with someone she barely knows. However, the latter provides reassurance to her best friend that she will be all right. Additionally, she sends a picture of Steve to her friend, describing him as perfect. The following day, Steve takes Noah to his place, informing her that they will be leaving early the next morning for a trip. Innocently, our girl agrees, unaware of what awaits her. She attempts to text Molly about her location, but her phone signal appears to be weak. After driving for several hours, they finally arrive at a suspicious-looking house, completely isolated from the rest of the city. Noah feels a bit uneasy about this, but chooses not to voice her concerns at the moment. After some time, Steve prepares a drink for her and asks her to guess its contents. However, as soon as Noah tastes it, she begins to feel dizzy and eventually passes out. When she regains consciousness, she finds herself chained up in a room with Steve. He confesses to drugging her, leaving Noah feeling confused and scared. Steve then reveals a shocking truth: he is actually a cannibal who consumes human flesh and sells it to wealthy clients. He explains that many of his clients prefer the meat of young women, so he tricks and kidnaps them by taking them on dates. Furthermore, he informs Noah that he plans to keep her alive for as long as possible to maintain the freshness of her flesh, while gradually removing her body parts. Terrified for her life, Noah attempts to fight back, but Steve overpowers her and pins her to the ground. As the cannibal leaves, Noah desperately calls for help. To her surprise, a woman named Penny from the adjacent room responds, revealing that Steve has kidnapped several women. As the two women converse, they discover that both of them are orphans. This realization leads them to understand that Steve specifically targets women without parents, as he knows that no one will come looking for them. Just then, another woman named Melissa, who has lost her mind after being kidnapped, starts singing. Molly, on the other hand, begins to worry after not hearing from her friend for a while. She sends a few messages to her, and surprisingly, Steve texts her back using Noah's phone. He mentions that they are relaxing at a cottage far away from the city. He also sends her an image of a beautiful waterfall, and says that Noah's planning to switch off her mobile phone for a while to get away from technology and enjoy nature. Molly, who knows her best friend well, senses that something is wrong. People don't act like that unless they're trying to create a fake version of themselves for dating apps. So she looks up the waterfall image on the internet to find its location. Lo and behold, it turns out to be a stock photo taken from a random website. On the other hand, Steve approaches Noah again, but this time he is more gentle. He hands her some new clothes and even lets her take a shower. Noah takes advantage of this kindness and tries to run away, but unfortunately, Steve manages to capture her. He then drags her to the surgery room and removes her handcuffs as punishment. Elsewhere, Molly starts looking for her best friend. First, she goes to her ex-boyfriend Paul's restaurant, where Noah had her first date with Steve. The two awkwardly greet each other, and Molly gets straight to the point. She inquires with Paul if he knows about this Steve guy. The bartender appears to be a bit hesitant, as he is not allowed to share client details, but with Molly insisting, he has no choice but to comply. Paul then reveals that the guy's actual name is Brendan Camp. Later, Molly returns home and searches for him on the internet. She learns that he is married to a woman named Anne and has 2 children. After this, Molly decides to pay Anne a visit. She also sends the location to Paul, asking him to come looking for her if anything goes wrong. Back at the Butcher house, Noah learns that she is the only victim Steve has slept with. This implies that he may have feelings for her. Noah then decides to take advantage of this situation. From that point on, she stops resisting and tries to seduce Steve whenever she can. She also suddenly shows an interest in eating human meat, saying she wants to try it. In the next scene, Molly arrives at Anna's location and immediately reveals that her husband has been dating other women. Anna seems surprised by this revelation and invites Molly inside to talk. Unfortunately, as they continue their conversation, Steve suddenly appears. He acts calm and pretends not to know anyone named Noah. This somewhat convinces Molly, and she thinks she has entered the wrong house. But before she leaves, she calls her friend again. To her surprise, the phone rings in Steve's pocket, revealing that he is actually the kidnapper. Why does he have her phone though? Now that he has been exposed, Steve cleverly says that Molly shouldn't have come here. Molly tries to run away, but before she can do so, Anna knocks her out from behind. It turns out that she is also a cannibal and a friend of Steve's. They probably have cannibal babies too. Sometime later, Steve takes Molly to his secluded butcher house in the woods. Then he goes back to Noah, gives her new clothes, and invites her to dinner. In another scene, we see Anna in the bathroom, revealing that she has a prosthetic leg. This suggests that she was once one of Steve's victims before becoming his wife. During dinner, Steve and Noah have a heartfelt conversation, as if they were a couple. She asks him how he got into this business, and he shares that he tasted human meat for the first time when he was 18. Initially, he was afraid of getting caught by the police, but then he couldn't get enough of that taste. As the years went by, he developed a craving for human meat, and made friends who shared the same interest. He shared his unique preference, and eventually discovered a community willing to pay a high price for this rare meat. It's astonishing what you can find on Facebook these days. This turned him into a human meat trafficker. After sharing his story, Steve offers Noah some human flesh. She is disgusted by it, but to maintain her facade, she eats it with a fake smile. After dinner, Steve takes Molly away for his gruesome intentions. Meanwhile, Paul, who hasn't heard from his ex-girlfriend in a while, becomes worried and starts searching for her. In the next scene, Steve invites Noah for another dinner. She seems to have gained his trust by now, which becomes even more apparent when he gives her a lovely pink dress. Later during dinner, as Noah consumes some human flesh, Steve reveals that it is Melissa. This shocks our girl, but she doesn't let it show on her face. After dinner, Steve shows her a hidden space filled with items from his victims, indicating that he has abducted and killed many women before. He then discloses something disgusting: his clients actually enjoy having the belongings of the women they eat, as it makes them feel closer to their food. Just then, Noah spots Molly's phone in the corner, making her realize that her best friend had come looking for her but ended up becoming another one of his victims. Furious, Noah decides to take action immediately. She knows that Steve can change his behavior at any moment, so she must act swiftly. Therefore, she gathers her courage and asks him for a dance. Surprisingly, he agrees and even uncuffs her. After setting the mood with a romantic dance, she leads him to his room under the pretense of pleasuring him. However, instead of giving him a good time, she brutally bites off his testicles. Noah quickly grabs the keys and runs away while Steve writhes in pain. She soon reaches the compartment where the other victims are being held. All of them appear to be dead, except for Penny and her best friend, Molly. Noah swiftly frees them, and the trio proceeds to escape. Suddenly, Steve, who lacks courage, unexpectedly appears and launches an attack. A tense battle erupts between the two groups, and despite Steve being outnumbered and injured, he manages to overpower the women. However, he soon becomes exhausted and gets knocked out. The girls seize the opportunity to take Molly's phone and escape, but their progress is hindered when they realize Penny is missing a limb. Unfortunately, Steve reappears, this time armed with a gun, and fires multiple shots at them, all of which miss. Meanwhile, Paul arrives outside the house just in time, likely following the GPS on Molly's phone. Upon hearing the gunshots, he immediately flees. The girls notice Paul's departure and realize that help won't arrive anytime soon. They decide to take matters into their own hands, quickly devising a plan and splitting up in different directions to confuse the deranged cannibal. When Steve lunges at one of them, all three girls join forces and beat him mercilessly. Noah then retrieves his own gun and finishes Steve off. Afterward, they attempt to call for help using Molly's phone, but it suddenly shuts off. Eventually, Anne also arrives at the scene in search of her husband, only to find his lifeless body on the ground. Filled with rage, she attacks Noah, leading to a back-and-forth confrontation between the two women. It seems as though Anne is gaining the upper hand, but Molly arrives just in time and repeatedly smashes Anne's head with a shovel until she finally succumbs. In the final scene, as Molly and Noah try to make sense of what happened, Noah receives a text from Chadwick asking if she's awake.